And joining us now for more reaction to this Supreme Court ruling is Senator Martin Heinrich. He's a Democrat from New Mexico. Senator, how are you reacting to the ruling?
I find this ruling to be incredibly offensive. As somebody who's owned guns my entire life, these things function as machine guns. And this ruling will undoubtedly cost innocent American lives. There's just no legitimate use for bump stocks.
I want to explore that a little more because I think part of what you're pointing to is what Justice Clarence Thomas said in his majority opinion, where he wrote, a bump stock does not convert a semi-automatic rifle into a machine gun any more than a shooter with a lightning-fast trigger finger does. So I want to take a look at the difference between an automatic rifle with and without a bump stock. So I'm going to play two quick videos here. This is Zach Nelson of the Jerry Rig Everything YouTube channel. He's a self-described gun enthusiast who, this is something he's done with his family for years. He's using an AR-15 that he says he purchased the day before this video was shot without a bump stock. Here it is. And here is the part of the video where he is using the AR-15 with the bump stock and for the first time that he's ever used it.
Okay.
He was very surprised in the video by how many bullets he could shoot, how many rounds would go off there. It's an undeniable difference. I mean, what do you say to that sentence from Justice Thomas?
It's just not honest. Like, I know these mechanisms. I've seen not just the videos, but I've used some of these weapons. He's not being honest about what this does. And it is incredibly dangerous. There's no legitimate use for these. Who's going to use these bump stocks? It's going to be street gangs and cartels and mass shooters. And, innocent Americans are going to die because of this decision. I find it incredibly troubling.
The Supreme Court is pointing to Congress in this ruling to legislate here. You actually first introduced bipartisan legislation to ban bump stocks in 2018. And this ban, which is former President Trump's ban, his campaign now today signaling support for this move by the court, saying that it should be respected. So, I mean, what do you think of the chances for legislation like yours in the future? If, for instance, Trump is elected, even if he isn't, and Republicans in the House and the Senate just want to follow his lead?
Well, what I've found is that oftentimes things are impossible in Congress until the moment that they're not. And unfortunately, oftentimes that moment is some incredible tragedy. I was very involved in negotiating the bipartisan gun safety bill that we passed a couple of years ago. That was completely impossible until the Uvalde shooting happened. I'm worried that it's going to take some moment like Las Vegas, where so many people were gunned down by those assault rifles with bump stocks attached, to create some sobriety in Congress and say that we have to do something about this.
I think some folks might be surprised to learn that according to ATF data, Americans bought more than 500,000 bump stocks when they were legal in the course of just a little over 10 years between 2008 and 2017. Previously legal. Right now we have this decision. Do you know how many of those people actually turned in or destroyed their bump stocks in 2019 when this now overturned rule officially went into effect?
I don't think we have any good data on that. And I would be concerned that many of these devices are still out there. I'm also worried that the Supreme Court basically wrote a roadmap for how to get around gun law that we've all accepted for 100 years around machine guns. Or is the industry going to take this decision and figure out how to apply the same sort of logic to Glock switches, which we're seeing more and more in street crimes now? There is nothing good that comes out of this decision. And I don't understand when you weigh the equities, this is really troubling.
Yeah, I mean, so it sounds like you're saying, because this is a ruling that is really about ATF rulemaking authority, it sounds like you're saying that you do have a lot of worry this is going to impact ATF rules when it comes to other machine gun conversion devices, and there are a lot.
Exactly right. And, I was talking to my attorney general the other day. He's saying he's seen these devices used more and more often in street crimes and by gangs. This is a huge problem, and it's a criminal justice problem. Like, we're going to see these devices used in ways that harm the public materially, versus what the argument is on the other side. It's really hard to imagine.
Well, Senator Martin Heinrich, we appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for covering this.